Hi everyone and welcome back to the second episode of Halftime. I'm Genevieve and I'm here with my co-hosts Parth and Sarona.
Thanks Jen. Today's show is jam-packed. First we'll gain insight into the sport of human-powered vehicles, the latest in cricket news, the young aerobics star representing Monash on the big stage, and athletes facing ruptured testicle injuries.
But first, let's take a look at the stories making the headlines.
The Boomers have started out the FIBA World Cup in outstanding fashion, going undefeated in the first group stage, with strong performances against Canada and Senegal, as well as a gritty victory over the highly rated Lithuania. Paddy Mills and Joe Ingles have been the standouts for the Australian squad, with Mills' lethal scoring and Ingles' improved playmaking combining into a near unstoppable force in these games. So have you guys been impressed by the Boomers so far?
Oh yeah, very much. They've looked so good. Especially against Lithuania, they were so good. They fought back the Lithuanian challenge. And at the run, Paddy Mills shot that three. It was amazing.
Yeah, they're doing really well in their group stages. Obviously, they won all of their matches. I think coming off of their sort of up and down series against the Boomers here at home, it's good to see that they've had a good start to this World Cup.
Yeah, hopefully they can continue to do well in the World Cup as well. Yeah.
And the whole fact that Joe Ingles has been absolutely amazing, I think he'll be absolutely devastating in the second round of the World Cup. So I think the Boomers are really strong favourites to go very deep into this tournament.
Yeah, sounds like they have a strong team behind them. Now over to the Matildas, who will play in Adelaide for the first time in 13 years when they face Chile in the second round of 2 friendlies in November. The matches could prove crucial for the team and their star forward Sam Kerr, as they hope to prepare the squad for the upcoming Tokyo 2020 Olympic qualifiers. After a disappointing World Cup showing by the Matildas, what should we look for in these friendlies?
It should be very interesting. They've played Chile once before. That's when Caitlin Ford got a hat-trick, and there should be interesting friendlies coming up.
I think it'll be really exciting to see Sam Kerr. Obviously, she was a superstar in their World Cup campaign last year, and it'll be good to see how she's doing this year, if she's going to continue the form that everyone's sort of expecting from her as well.
Yeah, for sure. They do have a couple of injuries, though. That might be a bit of a concern moving on.
Yeah, they've got a couple of ankle injuries, one carried on from the World Cup, and the first-choice goalkeeper is also carrying an ankle injury. But I just think that it's going to be really interesting considering they hammered Chile 5-0. And these two friendlies will really show us what some of the second-choice players look like.
Yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on them moving forward. Over to Formula One now. It's fair to say Daniel Ricciardo hasn't been firing on all cylinders this season, having finished on the podium 29 times, including 7 victories during his 5 years at Red Bull. Ricciardo has struggled in his first season at Renault. Ricciardo has managed a best finish of 6th place at the Canadian Grand Prix back in June. So guys, what are we to make of this?
He looks really behind the top 3 teams. I think when he joined Renault, maybe it was because of the Red Bull engine change towards Honda, but it's clearly not worked out for him, has it?
I think he still has the skills to obviously be a top driver. It's concerning just because 2018 was dubbed as his make or break sort of year, and then he ended up switching teams, and now he's fighting for the midfield instead of fighting for the top. So it'll be interesting to see what this sort of means for Ricciardo going into the future and his contract with Renault.
Yeah, just some of the strategic plans that Renault have had for Ricciardo have also not been up to the mark. So maybe it's not all of his fault, but some of it, maybe it belongs to the engineers, and maybe they'll come back with a better plan for the second half of the season.
Yeah, and his previous season with Red Bull didn't pan out the way it's expected with all those engine failures, and it's quite interesting that he's gone to Renault, who supplied the engines for Red Bull. It's a bit of an interesting choice, don't you think?
Yeah, definitely. Look, I think one of the main reasons was Red Bull's engine switch to Honda. And I think he thought Honda's engines, when they were not that good with McLaren, he thought Red Bull's engines would also be not that great. But turns out Red Bull and Honda have a really interesting partnership, and Ricciardo's been left out.
Yeah, so we'll have to see how he goes leading up to the end of the season in December. Now, with AFL Finals fever now in full swing, the biggest night of the AFL calendar, the Brownlow, is just around the corner. The Cats' Patrick Dangerfield is the favourite to take out the prestigious award, along with the likes of Lachie Neale and Nat Fyfe. So who do you guys think will take home the award this year?
I think it's hard to look past Patrick Dangerfield, but the fact that him and Nat Fyfe have actually won it once, will that play into the umpires' minds?
I don't think so. I think Dangerfield is too good to deny in terms of where the umpires are coming from. I just want to quickly mention though Patrick Cripps. I think he's been pretty hard done by. He's obviously had a sensational season over at Carlton, but unfortunately I don't think they've quite played well enough for him to poll as many votes as he probably deserves.
Yeah, and I mean, it could also be the year of the ruckman. A ruckman hasn't taken home the award since Adam Goods, so what do you think?
Yeah, Max Gawn has had an amazing year, and I think it might be his year, but again, Patrick Dangerfield's been really amazing, and if it doesn't play into the umpire's minds, maybe he's the one that wins it.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of pulling votes, Dustin Martin, he's ineligible.
Yes.
After that incident and suspension in week 3, I think he's ineligible, but he will pull a lot of votes.
He definitely will, I reckon. Yeah. And so now over to Taylor Harris. So the AFLW player in the summer and professional boxer in the winter, Taylor Harris took on radio host PJ Harding to a charity boxing match to raise awareness for bullying on Thursday night and surprisingly lost. Even if this match can't be taken too seriously, this marks the first loss for her professional career after winning all of her first 6 matches. So what do you guys think about last night?
I think it was really good, but the fact that Harris lost, I think even though it was a charity match, I am a little surprised.
Yeah, I think it'll be a pretty hard pill for Taylor to swallow. I'm sure she's used to just winning everything that she does and being good at everything. Yeah. But it's all in good fun. Obviously, it's a great cause, and it was kind of nice to see PJ get a win over a professional athlete.
Yeah, I mean, Taylor's the star, but looked like PJ was taking it pretty seriously as well. You know, swinging for some real punches there.
Considering that Taylor Harris had so many TKOs, I'd rather have thought that, this would be an easy matchup, but PJ was done really well.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty impressive work coming from a radio host. So now Australia has dominated the international side of the WNBA draft, with homegrown talents Alana Smith and Easy Magbagor being the only non-American players taken in the first round. Smith was taken with the 8th pick by the Phoenix Mercury and has shown potential in her rookie season, despite an unfortunate run of injuries, while Magbagor was drafted 12th by the Seattle Storm and will join the team next season as she finishes her contract in the WNBL. So what are your expectations for these players?
I think Alana Smith especially should do really well. She's had an unfortunate run of injuries, but the fact that she's playing on the Mercury with Diane Taurasi, she's got a lot to learn. She's a really good athlete and has a really good three-pointer. I think she'll be amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it'll be great to see how both players go overseas in a completely new league with different players. Obviously, they've proven themselves in the domestic league, and like Parth alluded to, Alana's one of the best three-point shooters in her position and for her size. So it'll be great to see how she sort of develops from that moving forward.
Yeah, for sure. It's always great to see some Australian talent going over to America, doing well. Now over to Seb, who hit the streets to ask people about the latest in cricket news.
G'day guys, with the Ashes in full swing, we're going to cruise up Glen Ferry Road and get some opinions on just how much the people love Smithy and how much they hate Ben Stokes. Okay, what are your thoughts on Smithy? How much do you love him?
Smithy, I don't think there is actually an amount that any Australian could love Smithy, so it's really just infinity.
Smith is absolute genius. I mean, without him, we wouldn't even have a chance of winning the Ashes.
I think he's done really well, and I think he's handled everything that's happened today really well.
And how much do you hate Ben Stokes?
Stokesy. I mean, I'm not sure if he can show his face in Australia ever again.
What do you think about Ben Stokes?
He's a very good player, and I think it's a shame he's not playing for New Zealand.
Should he be playing for New Zealand?
Well, I don't know what he should be, but it's been much better if we did, yeah.
Have you watched a cricket game in the last 6 months or 6 years?
No, I hate football.
You hate cricket, sorry?
Oh, cricket, yes.
He's a bit of a tosser when he wants to be, but so are most England cricketers, so that's all right.
They sure are. And who would be a worse bloke out of Virat Kohli and Ben Stokes?
That's a very hard question. I'd say Ben Stokes.
Okay, thanks very much, mate. Thanks, guys. That's all for today. And if the Australians can pull off the miraculous victory against the English on their own soil, it'll be almost as laughable as a Kiwi playing for the Poms.
Thanks, Seb. Now over to Jordan, who has the latest on an upcoming sport at Monash, the human-powered vehicles.
A student-led team of Monash engineers are putting the pedal to the metal in an attempt to break the Australian record for the fastest human-powered vehicle. The record is currently 95 kilometres an hour, and the team aim to break this by the end of the year. To achieve this record, the team are making modifications to standard bicycles to make them as lightweight and fast as possible.
The main thing is to minimise the aerodynamic drag on the bike. So basically the recumbent position lying down minimises that drag. And then we've got the aerodynamic fairing around the bike to further minimise the drag of the vehicle.
The team are training other riders to compete in the events. The current competing rider, Alistair Haslam, has hit the record for the team of 75 kilometres.
Currently, I'm supposed to be training for tests at Holden, Ford and Nevada Proving Grounds.
The team have a partnership with both Ford and Holden. Both of these organisations allow them to use their facilities to trial the bicycles at higher speed.
I think it was around March we had Holden, so we went to their testing ground.
Sort of running like a 1-year design cycle, so the first few months of the year we're designing the new bike, and then we'll manufacture it ourselves, and then we go into testing. So testing, we do a bit of testing at the velodrome here. We also do testing at Ford and Holden, so they allow us a few times a year to use their proving grounds, where we can basically take our bike up to higher speeds in a safe way.
The team attempt to come to Packer Park at least once a week to test out their bicycles and identify what modifications may need to be made in order to break the world record. At the end of the year, the team will be finalising their designs of the version 3 bike. The major goal for this bike will be to break the Australian speed record and go 95 kilometres or faster.
Welcome back. We're joined by Lakshya Zingani from Monash University's Human-Powered Vehicle team to tell us a little bit about what the sport entails. Welcome, Lash. Thank you for joining us today.
I'm glad to be here.
So, can you tell us a little bit about your position and what the sport entails?
Yep, so I'm one of the main riders and the coach for the riders of our team. So basically our agenda of this year is to break the Australian speed record in a human-powered vehicle.
Oh, so what does an average training session look like for the team?
So we have 2 really high-intensity sessions in a week. One at the start of the week when the riders are fresh, and one at the end. They usually entail VO2 max efforts, so those are really hard, punchy efforts that gets the heart rate going. And the rest of the week, it's basically either getting more testing on the bike and usually just enjoying riding our bikes.
Yeah. So just on that, what's the main part about being part of this team that you love?
Oh, so basically I've been racing criteriums and road races for the past 4 years, and I'm also really interested in electrical engineering. Mm-hmm. So this was the perfect opportunity for me to have both the things I love at one place, so yeah.
Right, so it's kind of a sport where the academics and the fitness overlap.
Yeah, so both of them happen together, and the best part is everyone in the team has the same kind of thought process of being good at sports as well as in academics, and yeah, basically being surrounded by those kind of people is really motivating.
Do you think it's important that you combine sports and uni life together?
Yeah, so I believe that it is very necessary, as there is scientific research related to dopamine, which is a happy hormone that's released. It says that if you're fit and you have, a kind of group where you participate in fitness, it can include even dancing or whatever you're interested in, really helps academics.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the low-speed automotive aerodynamic facility that you guys have access to? I've heard it's one of the biggest in the Southern Hemisphere.
Yeah, so we're really glad to have such a facility with us. So we work right on top of, as you said, the biggest wind tunnel in the Southern Hemisphere. And big companies like Ford come to test their products over there, and we can test different things like drag coefficients, even for cyclists to cars and anything in between. So we're really glad to have such a
And how important is aerodynamics in a human-powered vehicle team?
Oh, it's an exponential part of our team, because a rider cannot, like in a normal bike, riding at 80 k's an hour is pretty much impossible for a long duration of time. So having a aerodynamic fairing as we have in our bike is what is actually making us go that fast.
Right. And what sort of reaction do you get from people when you tell them that you're part of a human-powered vehicle team?
First of all, I have to explain to them what it is and show them images, as it's a bit hard for them to get their mind around it. Mm-hmm. And usually they think that it's actually powered by some kind of electronics, but then, yeah, they're pretty much surprised whenever I tell them where I work.
Yeah, so you get a lot of skeptics until you show them what you actually do. Yeah. Oh, cool.
And are you guys pursuing any competitions, or what's next for the team?
Okay, so every year we have a major competition that happens at the Ford's Proving Grounds, where many teams come to try to break the Australian record for the flying 200 meters. So what we try to do is we get a lap of the track, and the last 200 meters we have to clock our fastest speed possible. And the Australian record stands at 95 k's an hour, and we are trying to build that, like break that with our third bike. So
you think that's the next step for the human power vehicle team in Monash?
yeah, so if we break our Australian record, we'll get the chance to go to the US and compete against international teams at Battle Mountain, which is a 8-kilometer long stretch, which is dead flat. So we basically get the chance to break this world speed record.
That's interesting.
Oh, that's pretty exciting stuff. Thank you so much for joining us today, and best of luck for the future with the team.
Thank you, it was a pleasure.
Thank you. And so now we're going to head over to Serona for the social media roundup.
Thanks, guys. First, the gap between the bye week and the AFL home and away season and finals was filled by the annual EJ Whitten Legends charity game. The controversial AFL-X format was used in this year's match, with the game taking place at Amy Park, a sports ground generally used for rugby rather than AFL. Fans vented their frustrations online, with the unpopular changes only being worsened by a woeful game of footy. The game is easily summarised by this missed opportunity for goal by Melbourne radio host Byron Cook. Now to the NRL, and a clip of Melbourne Storm star Cameron Munster being absolutely steamrolled by Manly forward George Safur has sent American sports fans into meltdown. The video of Munster flying through the air at the hands of the Tongan powerhouse was posted to American social media page House of Highlights and has since had more than 2 million views. Even elite athletes weighed in, with NBA stars Bradley Beal and J.R. Smith commenting. Smith simply wrote "damn," complimented by a facepalm emoji, and we certainly felt the same way. Serena Williams and Maria Sharapova have met for the 23rd time in their careers at the first round of this year's US Open. Serena made light work of the Russian, taking just 59 minutes to dispose of Sharapova in straight sets. It's now been 6 years since Sharapova has won a set against Williams and 15 years since winning a match against her. Online, fans were less than impressed with the match being drummed up as an epic rivalry by promoters, given the ongoing dominance Williams has had over Sharapova throughout their time in tennis. And that's all we have for this week, Jen. Back to you.
Thanks, Serena. Now on to a more serious topic. Steele Sidebottom has made waves in the media as of late, and not for his performance, rather for an injury that has left him stranded on the sidelines, a ruptured testicle. The Collingwood star is now on the mend, but reporter Ezra Holt sat down with another athlete to find out what it's like to have faced the same injury.
Hey, how are we going? I'm Chase. I study computer science here at Monash, and I ruptured my testicle playing cricket.
Originally from Mildura, Chase grew up playing heaps of sport. Unfortunately, he's copped his fair share of injuries.
I lasted 3 or 4 deliveries. I was just playing and miss. And then finally he bowled me a really good length bowl, and because he's really tall and I'm short, it had a bit more extra bounce, and I sort of went to play it and missed at it. And it hit me in a spot you don't want to be hit. And I heard like a crack, and that was the protective piece. It broke, and I went down and was really, really sore. I couldn't continue on. I was 16 at the time, and then it was painful. Went into the dressing rooms and just sat, or was lying down in the change rooms, and just boys were sort of coming in laughing at me and that sort of thing. Coach came in and was like, "How you going, mate?" I'm like, "Yep, not bad." No sympathy whatsoever.
And what happened after that? Did you get it checked by a doctor, or what happened?
Yeah, so I went to the doctor the day after. The 2 days after. It was on the Saturday, went on the Monday, and he said there was a slight rupture. It didn't require surgery or anything, but he said it's going to be sensitive and tender for the next few days to weeks, and the swelling will be there for a while. But so fortunately there was no surgery or anything required and no major damage, but it was a bit of a scare actually.
Although the rupture was minor, the cricket ball certainly left a mark on his ball.
It was one more than the other, so one was about 2 to 3 times bigger than the other one, so it was like really obscure.
And the other one stayed the normal size?
Yeah, basically. It was mainly the left side that was impacted rather than the right side, yeah.
As brutal as this injury sounds, sports physio Ben Lowe says that testicles usually recover well from a rupture.
In terms of long-term consequences, there's not too many apart from psychological factors that they need to overcome.
This means that for Chase, where the problem was once in his testicles, has now gone to his head.
I definitely am more worried. Like, if I was to go and have a hit with my mates, it's definitely in the back of my mind, like, don't get hit because it will be. I know what it felt like, and I don't want it to happen again. So, yeah.
But it doesn't stop you from playing sport?
No, not completely. Definitely like put doubts in my mind, but hasn't stopped me at all.
Yikes, that was hard to watch. Thanks, Ezra. Now to a Monash athlete making waves in the aerobics world of sport.
Medicine student Yu Hong Peng has just returned from the Nationals with a gold medal.
Emma caught up with Yu Hong to see what exactly it takes to excel in the world of aerobic sports.
Here at Action Sport Aerobics, we've come down to see first-year medicine student at Monash, Yu Hong Peng, prepare for her next aerobics competition. Following her recent win at Nationals in Queensland, we've come down to gain some insight from her about what aerobics is, injuries, performing at a national level, and skill sets.
Aerobics is like, it's a very high energy, high impact sport. It's sort of like dance and gymnastics and cheerleading. You mush them all together and you added some showmanship, some diamontes and sped it up by 100%. I started in year 7 in my school just as a sport, just because my friends are doing it and I was like, oh, let's give it a go. And just kept going with it and I graduated and I wanted to keep going with it. So this year will be my 7th year doing it. It's hard. It's like really long days, but you kind of just have to plan your days out because we know when our comps are ages in advance and we know when our assignments are due, and if I need to I can apply for extra special consideration and stuff like that. But you kind of just get used to it. Like every time you go you get more confident on stage, and yeah, it's just really fun, and it's just seeing all your hard work for the whole year pay off after a whole year on stage and doing that one routine that you're really proud of. My favourite skill would be a straddle jump, just because it's just something that came to me. Some people find it really hard. It's just something that I could always do like without much effort. I was actually quite good previously. It was only this year where I started getting a lot of injuries. So I got adductor tendinopathy and Achilles tendinopathy just from overuse, doing too much. And yeah, it was really sad because I had to change my skills for stage. I couldn't do a lot of things because it hurt to do them. And it was definitely hard, but I think I've come out as a wiser person, like knowing more and learning how to take care of myself so that it doesn't happen again. And it's just something everyone has to go through eventually.
So much for watching.
We hope you've enjoyed everything we've had to offer, from human-powered vehicles to ruptured testicles.
We look forward to your company next time we gather for halftime.